Welcome to the Southern Homesteading Podcast. If it's homesteading in the South, we're talking about it. On our homestead, we raise livestock and fowl, grow gardens, and love to experiment with new plants and processes. We want to know where our food comes from. If you want to be a homesteader, are a homesteader, or if you want to learn how to grow your own food, you're in the right place. This is the Southern Homesteading Podcast. And here are your hosts, Chuck, Barbie, their dog Nico, and Jasper and Jenny, the guard geese.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
And I'm Barbie.
And this is
the Southern Homesteading Podcast.
If you can't tell by her accent. That's my Georgia girl right there for you. So welcome to the Southern Homesteading Podcast. I don't remember what episode number this is. I want to apologize because we did take a short break because, we were doing homesteading things. Mm-hmm. And we kind of got to the wayside and forgot. So we're back. And this episode, we're talking about predator-proofing the homestead. But before we go into the subject, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or Google Play or one of those podcast things, hit the 5-star rating so that way we can master the algorithm and make it our slave. Make it do what we want so we can get this message out to everybody.
And you can also check out the Bowser Journal on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
The difference between the Bowser Journal, that's a full video vlog. This is just an audio podcast.
Yes.
So today we're talking about predators. Not the two-legged kind. We're really specifically focusing on the four-legged kind.
There are some two-legged.
Yeah, there are some two-legged ones, but and I kind of misspoke already right out of the gate. I'm not editing that out. I'm leaving it in because we're talking more than just four-legged predators. So some of the types of predators that we seem to find a lot of down here in the Southern Homesteading Podcast world is bears,
coyotes,
fox,
raccoon,
neighborhood dogs,
birds of prey.
You got me. You win. I can't think of anything else.
What are the main types of birds of prey that we have?
So we got to watch out for hawks, kites,
osprey,
eagle. Eagle. Yeah, we have a lot of eagles in Florida.
Owl.
Owls. We definitely see. We hear the owls.
Yes.
I saw one night a couple years back. I was out on the
huge
front porch and we have a one light out in our front yard. It lights up the whole front yard, and I just kind of heard it sounded like a plane taking a woof, 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 and then this big thing that had like a 5-foot wingspan just kind of glided across our yard. I mean, I thought it was a vampire at first, and it was so big, and then I realized, man, that was a big owl.
Yes, it was.
And I know we have owls because if you have chickens and feed, you have rats. They kind of come hand in hand. So we have this one type of, that's another four-legged predator. Well, it's not really a predator, but so we capture them in a 5-gallon water bucket. I know some people don't like that method, but we do. But they don't go to waste because in the morning, the ones that we catch, or that night, I put them out in the middle of the driveway under the light, so that way I feed the barn. I feed the barn owls.
We also have barn cats that kind of keep the rat population down.
Yes, we definitely do. So we're going to talk about some methods that we have employed here on our homestead in Zone 9A, but it applies to 9B and 10 and some of the other ones in the South. And we've had a very successful rate in doing so. In 5.5 years of homesteading, we've only lost one animal to a predator. Knock on wood.
Yep. And that was a fox.
It was a fox, and it was early in our lifestyle of doing homesteading, and we were letting the chickens free range everywhere and stuff. So, and that was the issue there.
And then we did have a hawk that attacked our chicken tractor that was out in the middle of our yard in daylight. Tried to get in the door, then it flew around to the back and tried to get in the back. So definitely have some predator issues.
Well, the difference between those two is the hawk was not successful.
No.
The fox was.
Yes.
That's the difference between those two. So these are we're going to list probably 4 methods that are deployed by a lot of people in the South, and we've used 3 of the 4. One is livestock guardian dogs. Now, a livestock guardian dog is not your pet dog.
No.
A livestock guardian dog is a dog that you get, and it bonds with your animals. It sleeps with your animals. It's not in your house sleeping on, laying on your couch like our lazy dog is.
No, it's a companion to your livestock.
Yes. And there are several breeds that you can choose from. Great Pyrenees, German Shepherds, to Australian sheepdogs, and there's lots and lots of them. The breed that you're going to choose really depend on your ability to train, or wanting to train, or consistency to train. How's it going to interact with your family and stuff like that? But ours, although, let's step back. Nico's not a livestock guardian dog.
No. But he does guard the animals some when he's outside.
When he's outside with us, he absolutely does. So he is a part-time livestock guardian dog. And so now the difference is, like I said, the livestock guardian dog stays with your animals, and it sleeps with them and stuff, and it bonds to those animals. That doesn't mean you can't love on the livestock guardian dog and you can't play with the livestock guardian dog.
No.
There's
several YouTube channels.
Where one of them, Goldchaw Farms, he uses his to protect his ducks and his geese and his chickens.
And then Arms Family Homestead has Bear that protects their goats, and Bear's all the time wanting to come up and get love. So.
Now, why is it you can remember Bear's name, but you can't remember the name of the other dog?
The other one's Toby.
Toby, that's right. Actually,
I know his name. I don't know what type of dog it is.
Yeah, I was the one who couldn't remember the name. I was trying to remember the name of them. I was trying to throw my wife under the bus, and it didn't work very well. She backed up over me and said, "See, it's Toby." Yeah. Now so they can be used for different types of animals. The things you need to do with them is you need to raise them with the animals. So you need to get them as small puppies and train them and raise them around the animals.
Mm-hmm. And you can either train them yourself or have someone else train them.
Right. And make sure it's a breed that's good with animals, because my daughters had a dog that they had some chickens in the backyard that it was not a livestock guardian dog. As a matter of fact, it broke into the pen and killed the chickens.
Yeah. So,
that could be always could be an issue. Now, our dog, Nico, he is, like I said, a part-time livestock guardian dog. Don't tell him that. It'll hurt his feelings. He thinks he's a full-time guardian dog.
He thinks he's a rooster when he's outside.
He does. He is comfortable around all of our animals, and they're comfortable around him. Well, almost all of them are comfortable around him.
There's 2 that aren't.
And I'll explain those 2 in a minute. But the chickens and the ducks and the goats, they're all fine with them and stuff. Matter of fact, they'll come up nose to nose with him up to the fence, because they know that he's not there to hurt them. And Nico has actually snuck into the pen area with us and just kind of sniffing around. Hey, what's going on in here? Mm-hmm. And the chickens and stuff, they'll actually will even jump on him. And like if he's just laying there, they'll come up to him and jump on him. He'll turn around and look at him like.
I've seen him peck him, and he just like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at me. Look at my big teeth. Yeah, they leave him alone, but pretty much so. Another one that we've considered doing, but we didn't pull the trigger, and we'll explain why in a minute, is donkeys.
Yep. Donkey.
Yeah, donkey. Now, when it comes to donkeys, you can get the miniatures, the standards, and I guess the full size too, right? Isn't there 3 sizes?
I don't know. I know about miniatures and standards.
If you're getting a donkey for a protection animal, then you don't want a miniature.
No.
Because a miniature is not much bigger than a coyote or a wolf, and you want something that has a size advantage over whatever predator. Mm-hmm. And that way, when it kicks it, it's gonna issue out some psychological stopping power to that animal. And for those who may not know what psychological stopping power is, that's when, for example, when you get kicked by a donkey and you say, that
hurts.
That hurts. Let's not repeat that. Let's leave. That's called psychological stopping power. Right? Because it's all psychological.
And donkeys have been known to kill dogs before.
So yeah, if you do go down that route where you're going to choose a donkey, you need to make sure that, and you have dogs, that you
raise it
in a controlled way around those two, so they become used to each other. So that way the donkey realizes, oh, that four-legged canine
is not a predator.
That one's a part of the family.
Yeah.
You still may have issues.
Yeah, you could.
Still might have issues with that, but And the reason we didn't pick a donkey is because we were looking at donkeys. Mm-hmm. And we were looking at standards, and then we ended up getting a cow. Now, we live on a 3-acre homestead in Zone 9A. Zone 9A. We have, but when you actually look at our property, I'd say probably 45% of the property is under an oak canopy. Mm-hmm. So we do have pasture, we do have grassy areas, but not enough to support a cow, a donkey,
and
goats and baby goats.
Yeah.
So that's that coupled with the potential of maybe the hurting our dog or dogs at the time, because we had more than one dog at that point. We decided to not use donkeys. Now the benefit of a donkey, the side benefit of that is you get manure, and you can compost that and use it in your gardens. You don't want to use manure from a livestock guardian dog.
No. You
can. But you got to compost it for a lot longer,
and
you got to take some extra steps, and it's just a lot of people don't understand those extra steps, so it's probably safer just to not compost animal feces.
No.
Actually, what was the rule that I heard? That if it's a carnivore, you want to shy away from the manure for composting, I think it was. I don't know, it's something like that. So, because horses don't eat meat, they're grass, and donkeys eat grass and stuff. So
cows,
yeah, exactly.
Goats.
Now another animal that's used quite often are llamas. It's funny because this is actually our second recording of this podcast because Chuck had something set up incorrectly on the first one, and
why don't we just double check and make sure it's actually recording right now before we get
okay? So look, we'll flip back over. Yay, it is working. Yes, I don't want to get that again. So the other one is a llama.
Yeah.
And we had this whole conversation.
Which we don't know a whole lot about.
Which we don't, because we didn't even think about this, didn't even research it. I probably had heard of it, but probably just kind of shied away from it because
they do have them in the area. We've seen them.
There are some homesteads right now that do absolutely use llamas. And like I was saying earlier, we had the first time we recorded this, we had this really long discussion about eggs and llamas and stuff, and I realized that Chuck was getting confused and he was talking about emus, not llamas. So thank God that one didn't get recorded.
Llamas are mammals, no eggs, baby.
Yeah. Thank God that one didn't get recorded, so that way you guys don't think Chuck is a total idiot.
We said we didn't know about llamas. You're not an idiot, baby.
Yeah. So we don't know how much about this, so do your research, your due diligence there. Mm-hmm. And the fourth one we definitely have as well. Not only do we have one of these, we have two of these, and they are guard geese. Mm-hmm. Now you're probably wondering what makes a guard goose, right?
Yeah, you can't just throw geese in with other chickens and birds and stuff.
No. You got to issue them BDUs and flak jackets and helmets and miniature AR-15s.
No, baby, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it, baby.
No?
No.
Oh, man. So we have two guard geese. We have a male and a female. We didn't start them off at the same time. We started off with a female and then got the male.
Jenny Goose Goose.
Jenny Goose Goose and Jasper the Wasper.
No, just Jasper.
Yeah. So we started off with the guard goose, and you probably wonder what makes a guard goose. Well, any goose can be a guard goose. Mm-hmm. Some are better than others, and kind of which one you pick depends on your specific needs. So you can use like a Chinese goose, a Toulouse goose,
African.
I forgot about that. Yeah, African, and probably the most aggressive. The most aggressive is probably the African or the Chinese.
Yeah. They're the loudest too.
They're also the very loudest. So they're also very aggressive. So if you have small kids, grandkids, stuff like that, you may want to opt to one that's not quite as aggressive.
Yeah, we went with a more gentle breed.
We went with the Toulouse goose, and I think the reason we really went with the Toulouse goose was not because it was
French.
Because they're French, exactly right. They're French. My wife has this thing about France and Paris, and
well, you did take me to Paris, baby.
I did on freaking Flower Miles. I'll put that out there. Check's not made of money
for our anniversary.
Yep. So we got 2 Toulouse goose. We got the female first. I almost called her Jasper. Jenny Goose Goose. When we ordered Jenny, we ordered her from one of the hatcheries. At the same time, we ordered
some chickens.
So we raised her, and that's how you got to do a guard goose. You got to raise them with.
You raise one goose.
One goose
with your flock.
With the flock that you wanted to protect.
Yes. If
you get 2 geese, then they're going to bond to each other. You want the goose to bond to the other flock. Now it's funny because when you first get them, the goose is just a tiny bit bigger than the baby chicks.
Yeah.
But literally, it starts seems like doubling in size every couple of days, and it towers over them pretty quickly. So it's funny at first because they kind of pick on them because it's the big, it's the ugly duckling, right? But then all of a sudden, when that goose is 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, and she's 3 times the size.
She kind of becomes the boss pretty quick.
Yes, she does. Or he. Because we have a male and a female. Now, so you raise them with them, so that way they become bonded with that particular type of animal.
Yeah, because if they bond with their flock, then they will protect the flock. So Jenny started out with our other layers that we had.
Our second set of layers.
Yeah, and we ended up getting ducks that got incorporated into that. And then we separated Jenny out with the ducks. So you can change who they're with as long as you integrate them slowly. And
right. And there's a
you wouldn't want to put a new goose in with old chickens.
And the key word,
they get henpecked.
The key word there is patience.
Yes.
When you're doing that kind of a thing, because it's like anything else, it's going to upset the order, the hierarchy of the flock, and they got to kind of establish each other again. And so there's a process that goes with it, but you can change it. Another YouTube channel we watch, Justin Rhodes, he does that with his goose. He changes.
Yeah, every time he gets meat chickens, he's with a new flock.
Yeah, and so we've done it, and he's done it, so we know that it absolutely can be done. Mm-hmm. And then we got Jasper.
Yeah, we got Jasper this past year with our new layers that we got. So Jenny is with our ducks, and Jasper is with our 16 chickens that we have.
Now, you probably wonder what makes a goose a good guard animal.
Well, I mean, they're definitely their size has something to do with it because we have a lot of aerial predators, like we mentioned. So, when they're out free ranging or, out, they stay most of the time under an oak canopy that we have. So they're more protected from those types of aerial predators, but we do allow them to free range. So they'll go out into the yard. And when they're out there, I mean, Jenny or Jasper's eyes, Jasper not so much yet, but Jenny, I mean, she's just like,
she tilts her head and she looks up to the sky
the entire time.
And when she flaps her wings, she's got to have a 4-foot or 5-foot wingspan.
Yeah.
And
she's loud when she.
Yeah, and when she flaps, if you're within probably 5 or 10 feet of her, you can feel the wind from her wings. Mm-hmm. Now, when you think about that, when you're a hawk flying in the air looking for that to swoop in and get that easy meal and take off with it, and you see that big animal on the ground.
Yep.
And she flaps her wings.
Not worth it.
No, you're going to go on to the next property where you can swoop down and get something easily.
Yeah.
They're looking for that easy thing, they're not looking for, a battle to, fight some guard animal to get to something. It just wants to get in, get its food, and get out.
And I've seen Jenny flap her wings and usher the ducks back under the canopy. Like, come on, let's go. Because she didn't feel comfortable with them being out there because there was something overhead.
And guard geese are actually also really good for the 2-legged predators.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are afraid of geese. If you've been around geese or you raise geese and know body language of geese and know how to deal with them, they're not that scary. But to somebody who doesn't know, and when a big bird like that's that aggressive at you, a lot of people. The plumber who was just here fixing plumbing last Monday, something like that. Because if you watch our YouTube channel, you know that Jenny is nicknamed the OSHA inspector.
Yes.
And the reason we call her the OSHA inspector is because anytime that I'm doing something with tools or building something, she is right there watching me.
Yes.
Like the ocean specter, just waiting for me to not wear my PEP or
very,
something.
very curious about what we're doing.
Yep. So she was watching the plumber, and I happened to say hi. I said, "Don't let Jenny scare you." And he goes, "That's a goose." I said, "She's on the other side of the fence. Don't worry."
She can fly over that fence, though.
I didn't tell him that. Yeah. So we've seen Jenny fly about halfway across the yard at about 6 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't do very often, and I think
usually if she's startled.
I think the time when I saw it, something startled her,
mm-hmm.
and she flew across the yard.
Probably a baby goat running after her or something.
Probably, but most of the time, when she does fly, it's literally because her ducks that she's protecting got on the other side of the fence because they can squeeze through the fence, and
mm-hmm.
she can't because she's bigger. So she sometimes will fly over the fence to be with them or try to get them to come back. So she alerts. She scares people that way, but she also, if somebody comes on the property or something strange comes on the property, she alerts.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear her.
Yeah, if we hear her in the middle of the night, we know we start investigating. Sorry, my chair is squeaking.
Yeah, it is, but it's big time squeaking. See, you should have brought your chair over like I'd asked. So yeah, we have cameras mounted in the goose pen and the goats and the chickens. So if we hear anything, first thing we do is we go onto the cameras, make sure that there's nothing inside the pen.
It's a lot of times she's just getting onto the ducks.
Yes, she does. She gets onto the ducks, and then we'll look out the window, and so she'll alert us. So, for example, if we have company come over,
mm-hmm.
and a car pulls onto our property that she doesn't recognize,
mm-hmm.
she'll start squawking and alerting.
Or you walk into her pen with a hoodie on or
a hat. something that's not normal. Yep. And then it's funny because sometimes when we get home, she doesn't necessarily alert when we get home, but as soon as we get out of the car,
mm-hmm.
if we say her name,
she'll call back.
She'll call back like, "I'm over here. I'm over here." Except for she says it in goose language.
Yeah. Jasper does the same thing.
Yeah, and they do it if you say their name. Yeah. Jasper doesn't.
No, it's if you call him.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're not afraid of size either, because I've seen both of them flap their wings and even peck at Nico, our German Shepherd.
Yeah, our 95-pound German Shepherd.
Yeah.
With big scary teeth. Think of it from a goose's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the size of a predator right there.
Yeah.
And but
they're protecting them.
In one of our videos, Jenny was in the goat pen.
Mm-hmm. And Nico had his nose up.
Nico came up. So the goat pen is actually a carport. It's divided in half. So half it's the goat pen, the other half is just kind of like a storage area. And there's a fence that divides the two. So Nico came in the front part. We call it the shop. He came in the front part to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny was in the goat area. And he kind of put his nose up to the fence and in the fence a little bit. And she pecked his nose.
He did not like it.
He jumped back probably about 3 feet, and you could tell his feelings were hurt.
Yeah, I think the two geese are really the only ones we have to watch around Nico, because they will protect their flocks and flap at him and kind of get aggressive with him. And he could hurt him if he wanted to. He hasn't ever tried to. He will kind of show his teeth and run after him. And then we tell him to stop, and he stops. But
he leaves all the animals alone, and the only time he ever shows anything is when one of the two geese shows aggression towards him, and then he kind of responds back.
Yeah,
and he kind of it's really what's going on there. It's for him, it's pack mentality.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, no, you're not the alpha. I'm the alpha.
Right. He's not trying to hurt them at all.
No, but they keep him in line. They really do. So why did we choose the guard geese over the donkey?
Well, we mentioned we got the cow instead of the donkey, but another reason was we were afraid the donkey would view our dogs. We had more dogs then too, as predators, and not know the difference since they weren't raised together.
And Nico's a curious guy, so he might have some issues there. And if a donkey strikes at a dog, that's a serious injury, or even worse. If a goose does it,
it's a bite.
It's just it's a nibble, and it's a hurt ego.
She has hurt us before, but
bruises. She never broke skin, but
she broke my skin one time.
Yeah. So we didn't even talk about that.
But that was really only during a certain part of the year.
We mentioned about geese, and there's different types. So our Toulouse goose lays about 30 eggs a year.
in the spring.
And for about 30 to 45 days, she gets broody. Now, if you've raised chickens, you know what a broody chicken is. Well, imagine a broody chicken on steroids.
Yes. Yeah.
She gets really protective of her eggs.
Even though they're not fertile.
Even though not, because she's not, we keep the male away from her, so they're not fertile eggs. So she will take her eggs, and then if you go in there to feed them or whatever, she will let you know she is not, she will come after you.
You have to make her back down.
Yep.
We've had to pick her up and put her outside so we could gather eggs. It's funny, though. She doesn't protect just her eggs. She also gets the duck eggs out of their nest and puts them into her nest.
And she doesn't just put them in her nest. She buries them. She covers them. So you got to go. It's like hunt and seek in the mornings when she's laying eggs.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, goose eggs are really good. Just saying. Hat trick omelet, 1 goose egg, 1 duck egg,
and a chicken
and
egg.
1 chicken egg. It's the best omelet you will ever have.
But guard animals aren't the only way you can predator proof.
It's only one of the methods, and so those all require ongoing maintenance. You got to buy a feed for them and vet bills and all that kind of stuff. There are other ways. One of the other methods that we use, we like to lock up our animals at night. Some people like to leave their cows out in the pasture and stuff like that.
But we only have a single cow, so I'm kind of leery about a single cow being out by itself without a herd. So we put him to bed with our male goat at night, and they're bunkmates. We're actually building them a bachelor pad right now.
Yep. So you probably wonder, wow, man, how do you get like a rodeo? How do you get all those animals to go to bed at night?
It's actually pretty easy. Once they get used to the routine, we do feed them their primary meal at night. So the ducks get fed theirs. The goats get a second smaller meal, but they're kind of trained like the ducks and the goose. I go, duck, duck, goose, let's go to bed. And they come into their little...
That just absolutely just grills me.
They come into the
pen. Not the duck, duck, goose.
Oh, yeah, the chickens.
So when we go to put the chickens away, so we got 16 chickens, 17 chickens, and a male goose.
Yeah.
So when she puts them away, she
right
goes in there and she just...
Come on, chicky chicks, let's go to bed.
And they just all go into the thing. When I put them to bed, I go in, I put their food in the thing, half of them go in. I start walking the other half around the chicken tractor about 15 times. And then the ones I walk around, those 2 or 3 will go in, but in that process, 4 came out. And so...
Yeah. The only ones that really give me a problem sometime are the Eleanors. They're our Easter
And what's
eggers.
an Eleanor? I don't know what kind of breed that is.
They're our Easter eggers. We call them Eleanor. So we named all of our chickens the type of chicken they are. We used that first letter and gave them a name.
So a Rhode Island Red is a...
they're the Rosies.
And then the Buff Orpingtons are...
Birdies.
And the Easter eggers are...
Eleanors.
And...
The Cucamarines are Cleos. The Silver Lace Wyandottes are Stellas.
I'm glad she knows all these because I don't remember them all. As long as they keep laying eggs, I'm happy. That's all.
And Jasper.
And then Jasper. So yeah, they do get used to their routine, and they'll end up going to bed, and you have to plan your life around that. So because when we're out doing stuff on weekends and stuff like that, we
went to a ball game the other night, and it was after dark when we got home, and we were nervous.
Yep, and that's the first time. Well, not the first time, but that doesn't happen very often at all. We schedule, make sure that we're home. We've left parties early. It's like, no, we got to put the animals to bed, and because that's when the predators are out. They're out at dusk and dawn.
Yeah.
And so, and the animals get used to that, and they'll put themselves to bed most of the time. Matter of fact,
they were all in bed when we got home.
But
then the chickens came out. Oh yeah, Odin got out of the electric fence and put himself to bed.
So Odin and Duke. Odin's our male goat, and Duke is our cow. They were in a pasture area, and we got home, I don't know, 7 o'clock. So it had been dark for like an hour and a half or so. Mm-hmm. Almost said Duke. Odin went through an electric fence to put himself to bed because he was in his little stall when we got home.
Yeah.
So that's how easy it really is. And then of course we just went and got Duke. Duke was still out there eating grass. He didn't care. And so we put him to bed. So they get used to that routine, and they don't like change. So when the whole spring forward, fall back with the clocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for about a week, they're all like, "Wait a minute, why are you putting us to bed so early?"
And why aren't you out here in the dark feeding us?
Yeah, exactly. They do get used to their routines. They do. What's another way that we protect against predators besides locking up at night?
Well, I mean, when we have static coops and stuff, we provide extra predator proofing to those. We use hardware cloth and or chicken wire, but chicken wire is not as good because a raccoon can still stick their hands through that and kill your chickens. So hardware cloth is better. But if you have a static coop, we've actually shoveled down into the dirt, about 12 inches?
Yep.
And put the hardware cloth in there, and then Chuck fortified it extra.
I nicknamed it the Fort Knox of chicken coops.
Yes.
Because when I did my research on how to do them, it just said just dig down 12 inches and run the hardware cloth down into that.
And that's
ditch.
so predators can't dig under.
Well, they still dig under, but they hit the cloth underneath and they give up. But Chuck could, if you know me, I always do things. I got to chuckify it. I'm coining that term, by the way. Chuckifying it. Yes. So when we did our first chicken coop, that was a static coop. Mm-hmm. It was just a coop that we bought from Tractor Supply, and then we added onto it later on because Chuck chuckified it. So when I dug down in and put the hardwire cloth into the ground, the people who owned the property before us, there was like broken pieces of marble all around the yard and stuff. So I put that down in the ditch and
some logs
and stuff like that. So if they were going to dig down, they were going to have to go through a whole bunch of stuff to get into the chickens.
Yep.
And we never had anything get into that Fort Knox, anything. Now, Barbie did mention about chicken wire. One thing she didn't mention is chicken wire will not stop snakes.
No.
And snakes will eat your eggs.
Snakes will eat baby chicks, too. Smaller, like pullet-sized chicks. So.
Now, another way that we help help predator-proof our property, Nico. Nico likes to mark his territory. If you know what I mean by mark, he's a male dog. So you kind of get the idea. So you were saying that he actually marks the gates?
I've seen him mark like around the fencing where the animal enclosures are. He'll mark outside of it because those are his animals. And he marks around the house. He doesn't really mark around the front of the property like some dogs do. I mean, if he's up there, I'm sure he does, but usually it's more around the house and the animal enclosures and the gardens, which I don't like him doing the gardens because sometimes he kills my plant.
Well, nitrogen is great for a garden. You need to dilute it 10 to 1. You're probably thinking, what's Chuck talking about? Yeah, there are some gardening techniques where you capture your urine and then you mix it with a 10 to 1 ratio with water, and you put that on the ground, and then the nitrogen in the urine actually helps.
But straight
urine will
burn.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So that smell actually keeps the predators away, and also just the smell from just dogs being on the property. Now the property doesn't smell like dogs to us because we're human beings, but to a predator that has a heightened sense of smell, they smell it, and they kind of, again, it goes back to a predator's looking for the easy meal, not for the I want to battle some animal to get something.
Well, we had the bobcat that we heard the neighborhood dogs were going nuts. Nico was going nuts inside, so we went outside to figure out what it was and heard a bobcat. We didn't know it was a bobcat at the time. We had to look it up, but it got closer and closer and closer to our property, and then all of a sudden everything just went quiet, and we're like, okay, what's going on? And then, about 5 minutes later?
We heard it across the street.
Yeah.
So it came up to our property, it smelled the property, and then it went, it did a complete, went all the way around. It was like, I'm not crossing that property.
Yeah, and we were outside when it happened, so I'm sure if it had gotten in the yard, Nico would have gone ballistic.
Right. And Nico's not the only one who marks the territory.
No, he's not.
Chuck marks the territory.
Chuckify.
Chuck marks it. The grand boys mark it.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean we're standing out in the middle of the front yard for everybody to see.
We have wooded property, and we live in the country.
We live in the country, and the nearest houses to us are 300 feet away, 400 feet away, and we have a lot of oak canopy and a lot of wood. So, we mark the territory as well.
Yeah. And another thing is dog hair. You can spread that around the perimeter of your property. I know
especially if you have a dog that sheds.
Some people do that, use human hair or dog hair to keep deer out.
Deer out. The gardens. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And that's where I learned that. I learned it because
there was a movie.
Yeah. It was.
They were trying to get the grass to grow on a
field in Texas or something.
Yeah.
And then someone said, go to the barber and get hair and spread it out there, because they would put grass seed down and then the deer would come eat the grass seed. And we've been doing that, since we moved out here on the property, and we only down to one dog at the moment, but when we had Sasha was a long-haired German Shepherd, which sheds even more than a regular German Shepherd. I mean, literally, if you didn't vacuum every day, you were having baby fur puppies growing in the corners.
Yes.
And then we take that and take it out and just kind of sprinkle it out, by the outer fence line and stuff, and that helps keep predators away as well. So it works really well. And
you've also, when you're cleaning the dog poop out of the yard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the dogs, the majority of the time, will go up into the woods and poop. Mm-hmm. But when we got Charlie was my daughter's dog, who was a senior dog, and she had a brand new baby, and she couldn't deal with a brand new baby and a 2-year-old. So she asked if we could take him, and we did. So we brought him up here, and Charlie just absolutely loved the country life. But he, Sasha and Nico, they've lived here, and they know, hey, we go out to the woods to go do number 2.
Until Sasha got older.
For their hip dysplasia. So Charlie didn't know that, so he would literally do it right in front yard. And then, of course, Sasha started doing it. And so, once a week I go and I go collect their manure, and I would take it up to the fence line and just throw it over the fence line. Not my neighbor's yard, but the back part of our property faces even more woods. So I put it back there, because if anything's going to come, it's going to come from that direction. So that way it's on the other side, and they get that smell as well, too.
Mm-hmm. And it composts down, eventually. And,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
But
now, those are the methods that we have used that have worked really well for us. If you have used a method that we didn't list here, put that in. If you're watching this on YouTube, put it down in the comment section. Tell us about it, because we're always open to learning.
Or shoot us an email.
Yep, or shoot us an email, absolutely. And because we're always open to find better ways and stuff like that. But we've been very successful as far as keeping predators. Like I said, one animal out of
almost
6 years of homesteading, and at our peak, we've had up to as many as 70, 75 animals when you count the meat birds, the layers.
Yeah, most of those were birds.
Except chickens and stuff. Yeah, but when you counted the pigs, the goats, the rabbits, and then all of the chickens, because we had 35 meat birds, and then we had 20 chickens, and then the ducks and the geese and all that stuff. So obviously we processed the chickens and stuff, so that number's dropped. But so there's a lot of animals out there, so there's a lot of chances for stuff to get killed, and I think we've been very successful at keeping those things off our property. Because you do get attached to animals, and you hate to see them die. Yep. That's not to say we haven't had animals die.
A few have gotten sick.
Yeah, the only one got killed by that fox. Is the only predator problem we had, and we had the hawk one that you said that tried
but they were protected because they were inside of a chicken tractor, so they couldn't get to them.
Yep. So definitely, if you know a better way or know another method, and here comes Nico, you can probably hear him clickety clacking. Definitely shoot us an email or say it in the comments.
And make sure you don't, if you enjoy this, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. And again, follow us, the Bowser Journal, on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. That's
a full video vlog with over 100 videos and everything from aquaponics to diving to gardening to tractors to kayaking to it's a full video vlog. This is just an audio podcast on YouTube or on iTunes or Google Play or whatever podcast platform you're listening to on. So
until next time,
live your own story.
You've been listening to the Southern Homesteading Podcast with Chuck, Barbie, Nico the dog, and the guard geese, Jasper and Jenny. We take what we do very seriously. We love our way of life, and we hope you've gained some encouragement and some knowledge along the way. If you could, do us a favor and like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And don't forget to visit the YouTube channel at The Bowser Journal. We enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. This is the Southern Homesteading Podcast.
So y'all come back now, you hear?